A group of mothers who have one thing in common have been sharing their heartbreak with lawmakers. They each had a son who was killed by police. They've been meeting all week with members of Congress to discuss their unique perspective on police brutality. Danette Chavis is one of those mothers. She lost her son Gregory Chavis in 2004, and she is joining us in our New York studio to tell her story. Hello, it's nice to meet you, Ms. Chavis. Thank you so much for being here. And may we just express our sympathies for the loss of your son.
Thank you.
2004 was 10 years ago, but I'm sure it doesn't feel like it was that long ago.
Exactly.
Yeah. So a group of mothers, first of all, how many were you strong going to D.C., and why did you want to make this trip?
There were 9 of us altogether who went to D.C., and we went there because we felt that enough isn't being done about the police murders. Police are still murdering, and they're not being held accountable. So we went to Washington to make demands, proposals, and suggestions to those in Washington.
And tell me about the trip. You were there, you met with legislators, you met with your own representatives. Tell me about the meetings that you had.
Well, we first had a citywide forum, and then the following day we had congressional hearings. Members of Congress were there as well. They spoke. And then we met with the Department of Justice, and we also met with staff members from the Obama administration.
I know that you had hoped to meet with Attorney General Eric Holder and with the President. Wasn't able to do that, but you were able to meet with some high-level officials. Did you come away from those conversations feeling like you had made some progress?
Well, we came away feeling that we still had work to do. Many people expressed great concern, and they said that they are aware that more needs to be done, and they tried to reassure us that they're doing that. But we're going to keep pressing forward until we feel the results of those efforts.
What exactly did you want to hear from them that perhaps you didn't?
Well, we went there with a demand for police accountability across the board. That's a demand I've been making before Eric Garner or Michael Brown came on the scene, because I'm an activist as a result of this, and I've seen the escalation of police brutality and murder and no one being held accountable. And it doesn't work when you deal with it on a case-by-case basis. It has to be dealt with across the board, and I believe police accountability is the way to do it.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel and see coming from you righteous indignation, anger, not grief. You're not a broken woman at all. You're mad about this.
I'm very angry, and I'm insulted each and every time I see another murder. Each and every time I hear the justifications for it, it no longer makes any sense. There's 4 cases right now of individuals who were murdered in police custody while handcuffed, and the police said they did it themselves. Okay, nobody's raising Cain about it. It seems to be acceptable, and for me, it's not.
I can only imagine as you watch the grand jury proceedings unfold with first the Michael Brown shooting, and then right here in the New York City, close to our home, with Eric Garner, and there was video for that.
That's the thing that we addressed while in Washington. We appreciate the president's efforts in announcing the cameras to be worn on police officers, but the Eric Garner verdict made those efforts dead in the water, okay? Because we saw that even when we see it, nobody's being held accountable. And part of that has to do with the way that the prosecutors prosecuted. The fact is, they didn't. They took all the evidence and they turned it over to a grand jury and let them decide. And we see that prosecutors habitually refuse to prosecute police. But when it comes to Black and Hispanics, they have no problem prosecuting based on an accusation alone. So we have a disparity there when they're willing to prosecute based on accusations when it's people of color, but when it's police and you have carte blanche evidence, there's a hesitancy.
I know that you also met with your own representative, Lydia Vasquez, who is co-sponsoring some legislation.
Yes.
Are you pleased with this legislation?
Yeah, it's a step in the right direction.
What does it say?
It's a bill that's going to require police submit proof or evidence of all the claims of excessive force, of murder. It's going to require them to submit that documentation. Right now, there's no requirement for them to submit anything. And if they want federal funding, they're going to have to comply with those requirements in order to get it.
Isn't that amazing that now there is no requirement to report that?
Yes. What's more amazing is the power and the authority that they have. There is literally no one to check them and bring them under control, seemingly.
I'm down to literally 10, 15 seconds. I love to always ask this question for people who've lost loved ones from violence. Tell me about the life of your son, Gregory. What kind of man was he?
He was a hilarious person. He had a crazy sense of humor, and he was very protective over his sisters. I have 2 daughters, one younger than him, one older than him, but he acted like he was their father, and he was protective like that. And everyone who knew him loved him.
Oh, well, thank you so much for the work that you're doing and for coming to tell us about it.
Thank you for having me.
Danette Chavis, we do appreciate it.